Alright, 2024. It's the end of a new year, and like always, I watched a bunch of movies this year. Some of them were peak, and some of it was doo-doo dog shit, hairy balls. Get this fucking movie out of my face. But I decided to do something a little bit different this year. Instead of ranking my favorite films that came out in 2024, which is what most people tend to do, instead I'm going to rank my top 20 favorite films that I saw for the first time in 2024. This will include newer movies, but also older ones. This way I can get some I get to talk about some films that I really wouldn't have a chance to talk about otherwise, and maybe get some films you haven't heard of on your radar. Anyway, enough intro, let's just talk about these movies. Wicked, the story of the Wicked Witch of the West, and the biggest musical in a very long time. It's been a while since we've had a musical break the box office like this. I didn't know what to expect since I'd never seen the Broadway show it's based on, but all the songs are catchy as hell. They do a good job at translating a Broadway-style performance into the cinema with all the choreography and vocals and whatnot. Elphaba did the right thing every time, and she was punished anyway. It's pretty sad. One thing I will say is that this movie is long and you will feel it. Some movies are long, but you don't realize that until other people talk about it. But with this one, yeah, you can feel the runtime, and it does begin to stretch, which makes it even crazier when you realize this is just part one. But Wicked is still a great movie with amazing musical sequences and a great expansion of the Oz lore. In my Creature from the Black Lagoon retrospective, I talked about why Revenge of the Creature was my favorite film in the trilogy, but I'm worried that I didn't do a very good job explaining it, so I'll try to make it more clear this time. I like this film because of the way it depicts the creature. In the first film, the creature is kind of just a dope. He walks at 2 miles per hour. I could beat this guy in a fight. And the whole thing they went for with making him sympathetic because he loves women was just so stupid. Why would a fish man be in love with a woman? This film fixes all of my problems I had with the movie. First of all, the creature is actually a menace in this film. He has super strength, he can leap insanely high, and he can track you no matter where you go. But the thing that really made this version of the creature so much stronger to me was that they actually made him sympathetic. Instead of just being horny, in this one, the creature wants these two scientists because they kept electrocuting him. He wants revenge, damn it. I think that's a lot more sympathetic and relatable than Fishman have boner. Tropic Thunder is comedy gold. Every joke is so absurd and clever at the same time, and whenever you think the movie might be getting weaker, it just gives you hilarious joke after hilarious joke. The humor is truly relentless. It's a great parody of war films and the Hollywood industry. And this film is decked out with comedians. Ben Stiller, Robert Downey Jr., and Jack Black in the same film, and they all bring their A game. There really isn't a bad joke in this whole film. It's just hilarious, absurd, and strangely clever humor for 2 hours straight. Tropic Thunder is one of the most enjoyable comedy movies I've ever seen. You've gotta check this one out. Alright, I already reviewed Transformers 1 on the channel. I'll just briefly reiterate what I said there. Transformers 1 is a shockingly mature story that doesn't hold back any of its dark themes for children. There are a lot of mature, dark, and gruesome scenes in this film, and it depicts the stories of Optimus Prime and Megatron in such a captivating and mature way. It's honestly incredible that the animated Transformers movie is taking itself this seriously, but it just works. I think you'll be surprised by how mature and serious this film ends up being. Dude, Mad Max Fury Road is the craziest action film I've ever seen in my life. When I saw that first action scene, I thought to myself, this is it. This is the greatest action sequence of all time. And then the next one came. And then the next one. And then that finale. This film just has relentless choreography, constant explosions, and so much high-octane action. Every time I see these guys do anything, I think to myself, how did they do that? Like, what is going on? Every scene. I think a big part of that is how long each action scenes are. Each one is like 10 minutes. There are only small glimmers of peace in this entire film. It's essentially one giant chase scene. And my god, it's incredible. Mad Max World is just so grand and cinematic. I've never seen another franchise do something like this. One of the big things I love about this movie is the color. The fact that they make this desert look so vibrant and brutal and aggressive and grand and barren all at the same time, with these bright oranges and deep blues in the night scenes. Oh my god, it's incredible. George Miller is an amazing director. Conga TNT. Now, I won't pretend this is the most well-made film. It's a B-movie. But I've watched a lot of B-movies this year. Some of them are just truly miserable slogs to get through. If I enjoy watching a movie, I'm going to give it a good score. Now, is it an ironic enjoyment? Kind of. I mean, a lot of the fun I had was just from watching this film, which is really messy, very poorly written, but at the same time, I do have a lot of respect for the people that made this. This wasn't some soulless cash grab made by a big studio. This was just a group of friends that came together to make a movie, and I kind of really appreciate that. They wanted to make a movie, and they did. They didn't let a lack of funding or mastery of the craft stop them. And I actually really respect that a lot. Obviously, the budget is real low, so we can't have any convincing special effects, but that's alright. But also, just the story is completely ridiculous. So it's about this alien that crashes onto Earth, so they get Indiana Jones from Temu to go get it. This entire segment lasts 10 minutes, and he never shows up again. I know it sounds like I'm shitting on this movie, but that's just because it's objectively bad. I still enjoyed watching it, and will gladly rewatch it any day of the week. Okay, so before you write me off as some guy who only likes dumb, stupid movies, here's an old, prestigious film, just to balance it out. Sunrise, A Tale of Two Humans is an old film, like silent film old. And I was kind of worried that because it's a silent film, it wouldn't be able to captivate me in any meaningful way. Man, I was wrong. Sunrise is a great film. It has a very simple but emotional story. But what really sells it are the actors. Even though it has no dialogue, you can always tell exactly what they're thinking from the body language and the facial expressions. The guy who plays the main character, the husband, does an especially tremendous job. He's such a complex character, but you can always understand what he's feeling. His rage, his sorrow, his joy. There's many layers to this character, and the performance makes it clear despite there being no dialogue at all. And that scene on the boat has more tension than most movies ever. This is one of the most tense scenes in cinema history. The story itself is very simple, and I will say it's definitely a product of its time. It's about this guy who is married but loves another woman, so he is about to kill her, but he changes his mind and he's really sad about it, and then they forgive each other and love each other and have a good time. Would this be extremely messed up if this happened in real life? I mean, yeah, but like, it's a movie, I don't know. And again, the phenomenal acting really shows that he is deeply remorseful that he ever considered doing such a thing. You can really feel the sadness and the love overcoming him all at once. And I like how this happens halfway through the movie. The rest of the movie is just watching the two have a night on the town, so we actually get to see the love that they have instead of just spending the whole movie with this conflict. Sunrise is a very simple but effective love story. It's definitely a film you should watch because it's public domain and it's free on YouTube right now. This and Conga TNT, you can watch them without spending a penny. Okay, now let's go back to the funny shit. Red One. In this film, Santa Claus has been kidnapped, so it's up to Santa's top elf, Callum Drift, and the world's best tracker, Jack O'Malley, to save him. But the only problem, Jack O'Malley is a level 4 naughty lister. This film is nuts. The second I saw this trailer in February, it's all I could think about until I finally saw it in November. This was my most anticipated movie of the year, and it really wasn't even close. This movie is absolutely bonkers, but it never acknowledges it. It will just have the craziest one-liners and act like it's the most epic thing you've ever heard in your life. This is like the most epicest movie of all time. There are so many crazy action scenes. The story is nuts, but so much fun. And there are so many just stupidly over-exaggerated one-liners. There's this one part where Callum Drift is calling Mrs. Claus, and she's like, "Oh, I'm just baking some macaroons for Santa, dear." And then he gets off the call, and he's like, That's not Mrs. Claus. Santa hates macaroons. The North Pole has been taken." This movie is just nuts, and I love it. There's a scene where The Rock turns small, and then he starts weaving in between people's legs. If this doesn't sell you on the movie, then I don't know what to say. Clearly, this isn't for you. I know I've been saying you should watch this film for all of the films I've talked about, but I'll say this. If you like the Space Jam movies, you'll like this. They're good in the exact same crazy way. If you like those films, you'll like this movie. And if you don't like Space Jam, you should probably stay away because this is not the film for you. If you know me, you know Space Jam is one of my favorite films, so of course this is right up my alley. The Holdovers is a very genuine film. It's a film that after you watch it, you say to yourself, that was sweet. It's just one of those movies that kind of makes you have a little bit more faith in humanity. It's a story of a lonely kid, a grumpy teacher, and a cynical cafeteria lady just bonding over the holidays. And I like that. It's just a nice, emotionally honest film with some great performances and also some great direction. American Fiction is genius level satire, and it was my favorite out of all the Best Picture nominees of last year. American Fiction is just a great reflection on modern American society. It's about a black writer who writes a really stupid book about the hood struggle or some stupid shit like that as kind of a statement about how stupid the publishing industry is. And the second he publishes it, it becomes an instant hit. I just love how smart this movie is. It really just takes a step back and takes an honest look about how American society treats black people. Especially these days, it feels like so many people want some story about the black struggle, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it gets to a point where it feels inauthentic and vapid. Some people say they care about black voices, but all they want to hear are stories about the hood and the struggle or some shit like that. Trying to make every black story about the hood is pretty racist. And I'm very glad we have a movie that points this out in such a smart way. Because I'm sick of these baity stories about these things too. It also just helps that this movie is really funny. The performances are great, and the jokes take just the right jab at the way society is. My favorite part, the best joke, is when they're on the book judging committee and all the white people vote for the book opposed to all the black judges, because I think it's important we listen to black voices right now. Yeah, American Fiction is great. It should have gotten the Best Picture win, and its Best Original Screenplay win is more than deserved. I don't know what was happening in 1999, but that year had just so many anti-establishment films about people escaping the systems of their mundane lives. There's Fight Club and The Matrix, but the best one is American Beauty. It's a film about a guy who just lives a miserable, mundane life with a job he hates and a family that doesn't respect him. And over the course of the film, he decides to detach and starts to take control of his life again. It's such a beautiful message. It's never too late to take control of your life. It doesn't matter if you're like 50 years old. Heck, it doesn't even matter if you're gonna die in 5 months. If you're not happy with your life, you can change it. Even though the main character dies at the end of the film, that is not a spoiler. They tell you that in the beginning. But even though he died, it's still a happy ending. He died being content. He got to see the beauty in his life that he never could before. The thing you should take away from this movie is that if you're unhappy with your life, if you're sad and miserable or just bored with everything going on, then do something. Exercise. Get a different job. Just do what you want to do. My mom told me this advice that this movie lives by. If you're not hurting anybody, then do whatever you want. That's how you live a great life, and that's how you find the American beauty. Deadpool and Wolverine, yeah, baby, let's go! Okay, so I reviewed this when it came out, and when it came out, I gave it a 9 out of 10, and I still like it a lot, but maybe not as much as I did, because on reflection, this really is just fan service the movie, which is okay. I'm a fan. I was serviced. Upon deeper reflection, there's not too much beyond that. Its main emotional beat is more of a meta-narrative on how big studios throw away franchises that don't become instant hits, and how those films and characters deserve their narrative conclusion as well. But that's like a meta thing, you know? I mean, compare it to a film like Spider-Man No Way Home. And that film also had a lot of crazy fan service crossover stuff. But it was mostly a film about Tom Holland's Spider-Man learning about responsibility. Spider-Man's character arc was the focus. The crossover characters were just the side dressing to help out. With this movie, the fan service stuff is just the main course. It's the whole film. But hey, just because it's fan service doesn't mean it's bad. I feel like fan service has a negative connotation, but it really shouldn't. Fan service isn't bad, it's just simple. It's not the most well-written Marvel movie, but it is the funnest Marvel movie, which is why I have it so high on this list. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is just a super fun time, but the way they achieve this is different. Deadpool and Wolverine relied a lot on Marvel fan service to get its kicks. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World stands on its own. The cast is filled with yet-to-be stars, and they all bring their A-game on the comedic timing. There are so many clever, well-made jokes in this film.
Is Scott here?
You know what? He just left.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry.
There's a lot of things I could talk about, like the well-timed, charming humor, or the stacked cast of memorable characters, but instead I'm going to focus on the editing. There's this old expression in Hollywood that good editing is invisible. This movie says, fuck that, and goes in the complete opposite direction. This whole movie is stylized to look like a comic book or a video game, and it's great. There are so many little touches to the film that make it stand out from anything else and give it a unique visual identity. Combo scores show up during punches. Onomatopoeias will show up whenever any action-related thing is happening. Arts, stars, and lightning bolts will emphasize action. The film exists in its own world, and it's the closest that a live-action film has ever gotten to looking like a comic book. Wait a minute. A movie that's not animated or has any action or sci-fi elements involved? What the hell is this? Anyway, One Life is a movie about the Holocaust, so it's a bit more serious than Deadpool. Seeing the way he helped save the children is just so emotionally compelling and powerful. Now, on its own, from a writing and directing perspective, it's a pretty good Holocaust film. But what really makes this film for me are the performances. First off, I gotta give a big hand to Johnny Flynn, who plays the younger version of the character during the World War II segments. He gave a gentle and compassionate touch to the character, which really helped sell the performance. And seeing the things he went through and the determination he had to save these children was just really inspiring, and also tragic at times. But of course, the real standout is Anthony Hopkins. There's a reason he's on the poster. Hopkins plays the character long after World War II. If Flynn's performance sells the role of compassionate hero, then Hopkins really sells the disgruntled old man. When we see him at the movie, he's just kind of phasing through life, and you can really tell it. It's really sad to see that even though he saved so many children, the ones that he couldn't save still weigh on his mind. You can see that he's trying to accept what happened, but there's always that bit of cynicism in him. His performance is so good, there were 2 scenes with him that actually made me cry. Even though I knew what was going to happen in their interview because I've seen the real clip before, it's still just so emotionally impactful. And that ending, man, so sweet. Definitely an Oscar-winning performance for this film. Okay, this is a big hot take, but I never liked the first Inside Out. I guess I understand why many people liked it, but it just never clicked with me, and I always considered it one of Pixar's weakest movies. So anyway, Inside Out 2 is amazing. Inside Out 2 is one of the most emotionally mature and impactful movies I've seen in a long time. And all that has to do with the way it tackles the themes of growing up and the new emotions that come with it. This movie really came out at the perfect time for me because I'm a teenager myself. And it really felt like they were just holding up a mirror inside of my brain. It has a perfect interpretation of anxiety. It's probably the most accurate way I've seen anxiety depicted in anything like ever. And they really got all the nuances. Seeing Riley struggle to just have some fun and have friends, especially with anxiety's input, it hit so close to home. You know, in these teenage years, anxiety and embarrassment are just two big emotions that you'll really feel a lot of. And I love how this movie showed that the problem with anxiety is when it takes control, but it's at the same time, it's something you have to live with. Once you have anxiety, it's kind of just there forever. It shows not just how anxiety in itself can be very stressful and harmful, obviously, but basing your whole identity on anxiety and arbitrary goals can be really harmful for your mental state. Also, this movie just gets really intense and sad because it feels really introspective about the human experience and what growing up entails. The anxiety attack scene had me holding back my tears in the theater. I can't believe they took such a traumatic and intense emotional state and translate it perfectly on. Or the line, maybe this is what happens when you grow up, maybe you feel less joy. Oh my god. Now what's sadder? A character realizing that they'll never be as consistently happy as they used to be, or Bing Bong getting forgotten in the pit of fucking losers. Inside Out 2 may not be my favorite movie of the year, obviously. There's still 5 more to go. But I think it's one of the most intelligently written, emotionally impactful, and overall profound movie on this list. When people say animation is cinema, these are the type of movies that justify that statement. What could go above that? Okay, stay with me on this one. I kind of like this film in the same way I like Conga TNT and Red One, where it's like so funny bad that it's so just hilarious to watch and it ends up wrapping around to become an experience I love anyway. But this film is leagues above those two, like it's genuinely not even close. This legit might be the most fun I've ever had watching a movie. I have never laughed so hard watching a movie in my life. The scene where all the kung fu masters come out of nowhere is one of the best scenes of all time. They all come out of nowhere. Look, here comes the Canine Crusader. You just got these nunchucks. It's go go go, and then go go goes out. Look at the reactions. Did you see the pig's reaction? Just getting clips for this review brings me joy. This is what Avengers wishes it could be. This is peak fight scene right here. I think one of the best things about this film are just the animation and all the funny facial expressions they do. Like this scene here where the panda gets bit in the balls. Like this scene here where the panda gets bit in the balls. and this is the best part. But there are other great facial expressions.
No, hi, Go. No, I wasn't scared. Are you alright? Everything's okay?
Was he spanking her? I don't even remember that part. I know that a lot of people are gonna call this a Kung Fu Panda ripoff, but I mean, come on. This movie is about 2 cosmic whales going to war, and then an evil mouse steals their power, becomes a 9-headed dragon, and kidnaps the princess, who for some reason is the only human in the magical world this takes place in. Obviously, they probably made this film because of Kung Fu Panda, but like, I don't know, it's its own thing. This ain't Kung Fu Panda ripoff, this is its own thing. Also, why are there actually like celebrities in this movie? They got Tom Kenny and Norm Macdonald. What the hell are you doing here? Oh yeah, and I forgot, the pig flies with her farts. The fact that that wasn't even the most memorable part of this movie, and I forgot to mention it, should tell you what type of movie this is. I know I've been showing a lot of clips from this movie, but somehow I have a feeling whoever made this won't care. I think it's time to move on from this. I've been talking about this movie for way too long. It's just, like, I don't know, man. Adventures of Panda Warrior. This movie just stays in my mind and it won't come out. All I'm saying is, this is free on YouTube. You got this, Conga TNT, Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties is on there. You basically got the whole Criterion collection. Nimona is an amazing animated film. One of the most charming I've seen in general, to be honest. There are a lot of reasons why I love this movie. We can start with the basics. I love the characters. Boldheart and Nimona make such a fun duo, and I just love seeing them bounce off of each other. And Nimona herself is just such a great protagonist. She has such a chaotic and intense energy around her. Metal as an aesthetic isn't as popular as it used to be, so it's great to see a character that fully embraces it. But of course, if this was all the movie had, then it would not be this high up on the list. The reason why this movie takes the number 4 spot is because it's a great movie about how society forms prejudice. The entire society is kind of built around fearing and killing Nimona as a virtuous, heroic act. Seeing the toll that this takes on her. I also love how they did Boldheart's arc in this. He's also discriminated against in some form because he is a commoner. But I like how, because he grew up in this society and was taught his whole life that this was the right way to think, it takes him a while to leave this mindset. Even after he befriends Nimona, he's kind of a little bit of a phony supporter, telling Nimona that if she wants to be accepted, she should just pretend to be normal. And it's not until the end of the movie where he truly becomes accepting of Nimona. It's a development that takes the entire film. And this movie can just get really heavy. Seeing the toll that the discrimination takes on Nimona, it just has some really tragic scenes behind it. And the climax of the film literally had me bawling. Like, I know I said I cried during One Life and Inside Out 2, but those gave me like a couple tears. Inside Out 2 had me shaking a bit. Nimona had me flat out bawling across the entire room, and if I watched it with other people, I probably would have been very embarrassed. And I think it's really kind of tragic, but also smart. They didn't accept Nimona until she sacrificed herself, which, like, yeah, I'm glad they liked Nimona, but it literally took her dying for people to accept her. And that's really tragic, but also just kind of feels smart and realistic in a way. I don't know. This isn't the best film on the list, but it's the one that I like talking about most and have the most to say about. I saw Look Back because it was like the highest rated animated film on Letterboxd. And yeah, it does kind of deserve that title. If you've been following the channel for a while or just know me in real life, you'll know that I'm not into anime at all. It just has too much weird stuff for me to get into. I do like Studio Ghibli though. This feels like a Studio Ghibli film in the best way possible. It's just the story of two friends making comics together. The movie covers a very long period of time in a very short amount of actual minutes. There are a lot of scenes that are just montages of whole years passing by. But I like that. It never wastes your time. They cut out all the fat that would have just dragged out the story longer than's necessary and just kept the bits that make you not only follow the characters but care about them. It's just about two friends that like to make comics together. The movie goes from their middle school years to early adulthood. The movie covers an extensive amount of time. It takes place it goes from the start of their middle school years to early adulthood. There are a lot of just scenes of years going by. They really just keep the right amount of information to keep you following the story and stay invested in the characters. They only show you what's necessary to create a story that's both heartwarming, devastating, and just powerful. It just gives you the exact amount of information you need. They show you exactly what's necessary to create a story that's heartwarming, devastating, inspiring, impactful, melancholy, and inspirational. One of the most tender and in-touch films I've ever seen. And you want to know what the craziest part is? It does it all in 58 minutes. That's right, this movie isn't even an hour long, and yet it told a story that's more emotionally impactful than 90% of films ever have been. This is definitely a film you should check out, because it won't take that long, and I do think it will add value to your life. I've honestly haven't decided if I'll give it a 10 out of 10 yet, but I'm considering it. Anyway, on to the two films that I have decided to give definitive 10 out of 10 scores. I feel a little lame putting The Wild Robot as my highest rated animated film of the year above the niche Look Back, but what can I say? Everything you've heard about this movie is true. The Wild Robot tells a mature and profound story, but it does it in a way that makes it more accessible, I think. Look Back also was very mature, but it was all mature, Didn't give you a lot of time to rest. This film has a lot of very serious moments, but it can balance it out with humor more easily. But really, I just thought that Roz's character development was so engaging and great to watch. They really put a lot of stuff in this movie. I haven't read the books, but from what I understand, they adapted the whole series. But even though there's a lot of information and things going on in this film, the story never felt overstuffed or rushed or drawn out or anything like that. It felt perfectly paced. Roz's gradual friendship and understanding of the wildlife around him was so satisfying because it didn't feel rushed, but it didn't feel drawn out either. Seeing her parenting the bird was just so heartwarming, and I'm so glad they didn't draw out the liar reveal plot. I think we're all sick of that plot. So I'm glad that this movie just got it out of the way. And I like how it didn't show nature as some peaceful utopia, but a place where there actually is danger. When I first saw how they integrated the outside world, I thought to myself, okay, well, are they stretching it out? But then it perfectly continued the story. By showing how she saved the other creatures, she was able to befriend and make peace with all the wildlife in the island. If that was part of the separate book, I think that's crazy because you really do need that to complete the story. Same with the other robots in the outside world. Such an essential thing, and her going against her programming just felt built up in a natural way. Yeah, I know everyone's been saying this, but it's true. The Wild Robot is a masterpiece with perfect character development, storyline, emotions, animation. All of it just works so well to create a timeless animated classic. It's one of the most artistic and well-written films of the decade, and my pick for the best film that released in 2024 that I saw this year. However, as incredible as this film is, there is one I saw this year that simply topped it. So, I won't lie, making this video was hard. Having to definitively rank 20 great movies like this was a lot more challenging than I expected. I ended up flip-flopping and going back and forth on a couple key placements. That being said, the moment I started this video, I knew exactly what the number one spot would be. My number one favorite film that I saw in 2024 is undoubtedly Eega. Holy shit. This is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. It has action, it has romance, it has musical numbers. It has everything you could ever want from a movie at the maximum level. It's the pinnacle of what the medium of cinema can accomplish. It's about a man who gets murdered, gets reincarnated as a fly, and then seeks revenge on the man who killed him. The action gradually builds on itself, getting bigger and bigger and more climactic with every scene until it bursts into a final explosion of fire and action. Every scene gets progressively more intense, building on itself as the action gets more and more substantial. The game of cat and mouse between Eega and Sudeep feels progressively more vivid and intense as the movie goes on. And the intensity builds with each scene, gradually building up for an explosive finale. And I want to make clear that this wouldn't work nearly as well if it weren't for the film's main villain, Sudeep. Since the main character is a silent protagonist, it's literally a fly, it's really Sudeep's interactions that sell this whole thing. Sudeep genuinely might be one of my favorite movie villains of all time. Seeing his gradual transformation from suave womanizer to unhinged maniac was perfect in all the best ways. And his performance really sold the intensity of everything I witnessed on the screen. And seeing all the resources he used to catch this fly was just so great. You never knew what he was going to use next. Also, can we just talk about how he used pretty much every resource at his disposal? He used his minions, he used his technology, he even used magic at one point, but his final, most powerful form was just him locking the fuck in. That's incredible. He can be silly and intense and scared and everything over the course of this movie. I don't know what else to say, man. Eega is everything you could ever possibly want from a movie done at its fullest extent. It has action, it has romance, it has musical numbers, an amazing villain. tell a story that builds and builds and builds into a volcanic climax. This is the pinnacle of what the medium of cinema can accomplish. Eega is an easy 10 out of 10. It's the best film I've seen this year and one of my top 10 favorite films of all time. If there's one thing you should take away from this video, watch Eega. It is an incredible film that must be experienced by more people.